Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to do a beautiful ricotta, and I'm serving this ricotta with this wonderful salad of nectarines, tomatoes, pistachio, beautiful herbs, basil and parsley, and it's fantastic. So don't miss out. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Click subscribe if you're not doing that, and ring that bell, and I'll see you back in a second. Okay guys, today with this ricotta, it's super simple to make a ricotta. We're talking about lemon, milk, salt. You can put cream in it. You can leave cream out of it. Either way. Traditionally, you would put a little bit of cream in it too to give it creaminess, a little bit more creaminess. But for this particular ricotta, I'm not really looking to make it super creamy. I want to have it with some fruit and things. So you can have it with meats as well. I love to make a beautiful pasta with some braised pork shoulder or veal or something like that, and then have that meaty element and then have the creamy element of the ricotta added to it. But I'll be making a salad with this ricotta at the end. So with this, you're going to need really good milk. That's the thing. I use whole milk. That's going to give you more fattiness to it. And you're going to get more ricotta out of that, okay? Skim milk is already skimmed of a lot of fat, so when you make the ricotta, it's going to be a lot less. So with this, I use also grass-fed. If you have a local dairy by you, that's even better. Go get some really nice whole milk from some beautiful grass-fed cows, and that would be an amazing product to have. So if you don't have that, go to a really good grocery store in your neighborhood and buy a nice grass-fed milk. Then all we're going to do is put the milk in. It's a super simple process, but I want you guys to see it, because if you see it, then you might do it. And that's what this is all about. It's cooking, opening up your mind to some new things. Okay, I'm going to put this on the highest heat. I've got half a gallon of milk, and we're going to let this come to a simmer. All right, we don't want to rapidly boil it. All we want to do is pasteurize it, or like kill any bacteria in it by and it's also the heat's going to help us to separate the milk when we add the acid to it. Okay, so with this, we're just going to bring it up to a simmer. So it's going to probably take about 8 minutes. So I'll see you back in a second. Okay guys, we're back. It's been about 8 minutes now. You can see there's like a little bit of a foam kind of forming on the top of the milk here, and it's about to simmer. So at this point, you want to keep an eye on it. You don't want to you don't want to rapid boil this thing. So don't just stick it on the stove and go away. Now what we'll do, and this is going to increase the heat quickly, is add salt. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt to this, and that will salt will make it kind of move a little quicker when it comes to simmering. Okay, I like to add just a little salt for seasoning. You could still use this for sweetness. You're not salting it now for the end product flavor. We're just going to salt it at stages. Later on, after you make the ricotta, you might have like a quart container of it in your fridge, and you decide that you're going to take half of that and use it for savory, and you can add more salt, maybe olive oil to it. Now you see it coming up to a simmer here. I really want to turn it down now. So I'm turning it down. And now I'm going to add my lemon. So half a gallon, we're going to add about a half a lemon here. That should do the trick. If it doesn't, you can just add more. It's going to break depending on the acidity level, and then the amount of fat in there too. So I'm putting my lemon juice in. You could use vinegar as well. Lime juice is a little too strong, I think, even though certain times of year, it's summertime, you want to use lime more because it's in season, but I think it's just nicer. Now I'm going to just turn this off at this point. You can see that it's simmered enough, and now the lemon that I'm adding to it, I just want it to cook a little bit like that, and stir it with that acidity in there, and see if it's starting to break. Can you see how that's starting to break now? And it's broken. You you can see when I pick this up, you see the clumps of fat in there, milk fat, and then the rest is kind of watery. So, and you can see it forming on the top. That's your ricotta, right? And you're just going to take it and continue to stir it. So even though you think a half gallon of milk is a lot, it's just not going to make a lot of ricotta. It's going to make a very small amount of ricotta. So we're going to stir this like this, and what we're looking to do is kind of separate the ricotta from the liquid a little bit. In the beginning stage, it's called the whey, the water that's left over when you've cooked this and it's separated. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to strain it, and that strained ricotta we'll have for a period of time. So here I have a towel, and I've got a fine strainer. So this is what you kind of want, a fine strainer. With this, you can see how fine the holes are in this. They're really fine. If you don't have that fine of a strainer, you can get a cheesecloth. Now with this, I just put a napkin in there. This is a heavier napkin, and you want to just be careful not to tear the napkin. You don't want pieces of napkin in there, right? But see now, you can see as it says here, right, how this is separated, okay? And that's where you want your ricotta to be. You can see these pieces here on the back of that. That's my ricotta, and it already tastes good. Again, you want to use a great milk for this. A lot of you, you go and you vacation, in an area where there's maybe dairies and stuff, and you go buy yourself some cheese. Buy yourself some milk and try to make yourself a ricotta from that. It's really kind of fun, and it makes a really nice one. Like I said, if you're buying it from the store, then you want to make sure you buy organic milk and something from a really nice dairy and something that's whole fat. And grass-fed cows are going to make the flavor of this better. Okay, so if it notes that these are grass-fed cattle that they're using, that's a great thing. So now you can see as I drop this into my strainer, right? I've got my whey is going through to the bottom, and my beautiful ricotta is sitting here. So I'm just taking this off in gently, trying not to. I don't want to break this napkin at all. Very important. You don't necessarily need the napkin. Having a napkin or like a cheesecloth might give you a little bit more of the very tiniest grains of the ricotta, but that's okay. Now, the ricotta, why do we add salt in the beginning, like a little bit in the beginning and not just some at the end? Well, you always want a little bit of salt in there. So even if we're going to use this for sweet, so if we're going to take this ricotta later and we're going to add sugar to it, and we're going to put vanilla in it, and we're going to use it as a dessert piece, it's that little bit of salt in there still will bring out the nice flavors. But what it's basically going to do is it's going to separate the liquid more from the solids as it sits. The salt will draw the liquids away. So you can see how much ricotta I've got here, right? And I'm not just dumping it all in because I want to be gentle with it. Anytime you're working with this like cheese like this, it's important to be gentle. And then I'm going to just go ahead and finish this. So I'll finish straining this, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, you guys, I've strained all of this, and you can see, that you see if pulling on this is going to break that. So what I'm going to probably want to do is invert that later. But first, what I'm going to do is I have to take some of this whey out because it's just going to sit in the liquid and it won't strain at all. So in order to do that, I've got to, you can see how this is just going to strain like this, right? And what I'll need to do is grab myself another dish to put my whey in. So I have this whey. You don't really want to throw this out because it's got a lot of flavor in it. You can see it's basically this milk water, if you will. But if you were to taste it, and I encourage you to taste it, it's very light and nice flavor, and it's going to be good. You know, if you want to, when you're making a pasta dish, if you want a little bit of milkiness to that, I add some time into that. You can use this to marinate meats, chicken, regular meat. The acid in it will help to marinate as well. You can use it for desserts as well. So there's a lot of applications that you can use whey. So don't just throw it away. With this whey here, you can see it's continuing to drip. I'm going to just fill my container up with it there. Now I have an empty bowl, and this has room to drip and get dry. Now that has to sit and drip, and all that liquid's got to come out, and that takes probably a couple hours. So at this point, you're ready to kind of refrigerate this and cool it down. So I would just throw this in the refrigerator like this. It's going to drip. You can leave it overnight. That works fine. And then when you come back, we're going to go ahead and make a dish with this. So I'll see you back in a second. Okay, guys, while we wait for our ricotta, I'm going to marinate a little bit of shallot, and then we're going to eat it with ricotta later. So one of the nice things about fresh ricotta like that is it makes a great pairing for summer items like stone fruit, strawberries, blueberries, dried fruits like apricots, or golden raisins, things like that. And of course, beautiful cherry tomatoes. So here I've got gold cherry tomatoes, red. There's like different varieties. I'm just going to lay those down. These have been just washed. You can see how beautiful these are. And now I just want to cut them in half. And I want to do that to expose the kind of inside liquid to the salt and the marinade that we're imparting on it, because I do want them to marinate for a little bit. So as we do that, the salt will bring out the water of the tomatoes, and it will melt that tomato water with everything else in the dish. So rather than you just eating all these individual components separately, you're going to taste everything together as one. And that's what's beautiful about this quick marinade. So I've just cut these tomatoes in half, and I'm going to stick them in my bowl right here. So I've got a beautiful bowl that I've cut those in. And I'm going to use, I have these beautiful, look at these little guys right here. They're perfect, right? They're little Persian cucumbers. You can find them in your grocery store. I found them in my grocery store here. They weren't something I had to go to a special farmer's market for. Because these are so small and the seeds are so little in there, I actually just like to have them just like this, just slices. I don't take the seeds out. You know, bigger cucumbers, I take the seeds out. If you have a domestic cucumber that's been waxed on the outside, you'd want to actually take the skin off of that too. But these European cucumbers have not been waxed, and they are just beautiful and tender, and they have good dense flavor of cucumber. That's why I love them. So, so good. So what I like to do is add my cucumber to this, and then I'm going to add my fruit. Now, before I add my fruit, while I'm waiting, I'm going to just season. I'm going to put well, it's probably a little less than a half a table. It's probably like I should say strong teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a little olive oil on there. And I'm just going to marinate those up a little bit. I like to just start the marinade process, especially with tomatoes and cucumbers. They have so much nice water in them. You know, I like to mix those up and taste them right off the bat, because sometimes you'll put salt on a tomato or cucumber and think it's enough, but it's not, because tomatoes and cucumbers need a little bit more salt. And because that salt, they're both very subtle vegetables, and they bring out, the salt brings out the flavor. So now we've done that, I'm going to add my other components. My other components, I'm going to take a few dried apricots. So These dried apricots are, why dried apricot? Because, you know, why wouldn't we use dried apricot just in the winter? Well, I think that dried apricot needs to be used all year round because it has like really nice depth of flavor. Whenever you dry a fruit, the flavor gets incredible depth. So with that, I just julienne those, and I'm going to put those in my salad here. Now, the reason I use the apricots too is because it gives you a dried version of the fruit, and then we're going to have some fresh stone fruit as well. So I've got peaches, nectarines, I've got plums. Well, this is actually my nectarine. Peach, nectarine, plum. So what I'm going to do is just want to cut around these guys like this, and then you know what I'm going to do is quarter it like this and then press it out. Now this particular one, you want to taste them, and these are perfect because when I make this salad of peach, and I cut them small enough where you can have one bite of the peach. So rather than doing long, thin pieces, I like to make it where you can actually fit one piece in your mouth, so you don't have to have multiple utensils when you're eating it. Now, this peach is like not only, it's not to the ripeness where it's getting too soft and overly soft. You can see the texture and the firmness of it is really nice. And that's going to be good because we're going to pre-marinate these a little bit. Now, if you had a fruit that was super fresh and like super ripe, then I would say don't do that. I would say wait until right before you're going to serve it. So just use the ones that are a little bit, not greener because they're not green, but they're just not as ripe. They've got maybe a day. Now, that plum is perfect amount of ripeness. It's sweet, it's delicate, but it's not overly soft and bruising and stuff. So that one is perfect. And then, oh, there we go. Now, this peach is looking gorgeous too. So again, cutting it just in half so I can cut these down. And I want to taste them all to see the level of sugar. They're all really nicely sweet. Okay, now I have a shallot. Why shallot? I think this dish needs onion flavor, right? We're balancing all these flavors. We're going to have sweetness of the summer fruit. We're going to have tomatoes, which are pretty sweet too, but they give us a little vegetableness. Same with cucumber. And then we need some type of onion flavor. And because shallot is so delicate, I like to use shallots with it, especially so as we're not cooking it. If you didn't have a shallot, you could substitute like a Vidalia onion, a sweet onion, and just mince it up really small. So I'm cutting this, you can see, very thin, right, this way. And then I'm going to cut it back this way at a horizontal to make what we call a mince, which is really small kind of dice. And we do that because we don't want any big chunks of onion in this, right? Okay, so I'm just going to stick those right in this. Now, anything that's left over in this with the shallot, I always keep on the side here, and I'll use that for something else. I'll use that for a pasta dish, for, you know, I'll make it, you know, a salad with that, another salad. I'll make a chicken salad with it. So there's a million things you can do with the shallots. If you let them sit in your fridge like that for 2 or 3 days and you're cooking, you're going to find something to utilize them with, okay? So with this now, I want to add herbs. So I've got these beautiful basil leaves from my garden. I'm not going to even chop those. I'm just picking the basil leaf. They've been already washed, and I'm just going to pull those and just stick those in my salad like this. If you have big ones, it's different. You can actually go ahead and chop them up. But if they're just little leaves like this, just go through this and pick it. Just make sure you've washed your basil really good and pick it. So we do that and pick these leaves because I love getting a nice big hearty chunk of leaf in my dish. It doesn't always have to be so like cut up and chopped up. Okay, I like the earthiness of this. Okay, now here I've got some parsley as well. The parsley, I'm going to do the same thing with that. I'm going to chop the parsley a little bit, but I don't really want the stems in there. So I'm just going to take these leaves like this and pull the leaves off. It can have little stems in there, like, you know, little guys are fine, but we're going to avoid like having like these big, like a big one like this. You know, we don't want that big stem in there. You can utilize that for other things. Again, that stuff you can stick in a quart, just stick in a quart container and put in your freezer even. Because if you froze that and then you go to make a chicken stock and you have in there carrot scraps, shallot scraps, all the scraps that you don't think that you're going to use. I always say put it in the fridge first, and then if you don't use it in a couple days and you're like, okay, you're worried about it going bad, then throw it in your freezer, okay? Because even frozen, you can dump those frozen vegetables right into a pot with water and chicken, and you're good. So with this, again, I don't want to cut it up too small, so I just want to have those nice pieces in there, and I've got this beautiful parsley in there, right? And I'm going to put that in my bowl. Now I've got my bowl here. I'm going to put pepper in it. You know, we need spiciness. We don't have spiciness. We have onion in. We've got sweet of the nectarines. We've got the dried element of the fruit too to give us a kind of an aged piece. Now we need acidity. So acidity, you can use lemon again, or you can use, I have a little white balsamic here, and I'm going to put that all over. So beautiful white balsamic. The olive oil for kind of the fattiness of this. It's going to come from the olive oil. Okay. Again, you could use both. You could use a lemon and I'm going to I'll put a little squeeze of lemon in here because I had a little left over from doing my ricotta. So I'm just going to put whatever left from that lemon. I'll just squeeze it on there. And why? It's just going to bring together that lemon acidity in your mouth. And then here, I just have some beautiful pistachios. And these have been roasted and salted. I've roasted these and salted these and leave these around the house to snack on because, God, they're good, right? And there's something about fruits like this, stone fruits, apricots, pistachio. Oh, great flavors. So now, all you're going to do is incorporate all this. So you just want to mix it. And this is why we kind of made sure to season the cucumber and the salt first, because the cucumber with the salt and the tomato, to make sure that those got really coated nicely. And at this point, the juice in there is gonna coat and make sure that all these fruits are coated too. Now, what happens when you put salt on a fruit? It's the same way. It's like pickling it. So you are going to have liquid come out of this. So we want this to marinate for a little bit. We don't want this to be eaten right now. Why? Because our stone fruit have that moisture in there. When we add the salt, it's going to come out just like the cucumber, just like the tomato. And all this flavor is going to come together in this broth with the balsamic, with the lemon, with the olive oil, with the nuttiness of the pistachio, and all the herbs, the flavor. Even the herbs are going to give out a little liquid too. And when they do that, they come together and they marry. And that's what's going to make the end product special. So join me back in a second. We're going to wait for that ricotta to fully strain. This is going to marinate for about half an hour, and we're going to have a beautiful salad in a little bit. So I'll see you back. Okay, guys, we're back. I've got my ricotta here. You can see how soft this is. And I'm going to let it go a little bit longer too, but I'm going to go ahead and have a little of this for lunch right now. So you can see when I grab this now, some more whey has come out, you can see, and more will come out as this sits the longer, but you can see it's firm, right? So it's ready to eat. There's not a particular time you have to wait for this, okay? I just want to take a little bit of it for my lunch here. Now, at this point, I like to add a little bit of oil to it, and I'm gonna mix it around, and I've got this beautiful ricotta. Now, if you're gonna make this, wow, that's really nice. It's got just the right amount of salt in it. I'm gonna add a little pepper and some hot pepper to it here when we plate this up. So let's do that right now. I've got, you can see my wonderful salad is marinated beautifully, right? And the fruits have kind of like all softened up a little bit. They've all let out their juices and melded those together. So now I have a nice little dish here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this ricotta here in the center. And I've got this creamy ricotta, and I'm just gonna press it out. In ricotta, you can always see it's always a little crumbly, which is kind of nice. That's the texture of ricotta, right? And I'm just gonna press that out like that. And then I'm gonna put my salad portion. Again, this is enough for probably like 3 to 4 people, right? And I put a little bit of that juice. The juice that's in the bottom of this is gonna have that the beautiful flavor of the shallots in there, the flavor of the tomatoes and the cucumber. It's almost like eating a chunky gazpacho. It really is, except with fruit in it. And the fruit in the summertime, when you get those fresh from the farmer's market, they're so beautiful. It's like, how do you not take these and enjoy these? So I'm just gonna put a little drip of that juice around, okay? I'm gonna take this oil and I'm gonna put this oil on top of my ricotta and around the plate as well, like this. And then in addition to that, I'm gonna add a little, for spiciness, I'm gonna add a little more black pepper to my dish, to my ricotta, to my salad, because there's really nothing that had spice in here. Now I could have put some jalapenos thinly sliced in there for spice, but it's okay. I didn't have them, so I didn't use them, right? This is Calabrian chili. So it's a hot chili from Italy, from Calabria. And I use it a lot when I'm making pastas and tomato dishes for heat. So with that, I'm just gonna just drizzle that around my plate like this. And that is gonna add beautiful spice to this dish. So you can see how gorgeous this is looking. Oh my God, and like the taste, the pistachio with the fruit, sweet, savory, herbal, acidic, everything you need. Remember what I told you, balance in your food. So it's about having all of those textures, the flavors, soft and sweet and sour. If you have all of those, you're gonna make something special. So make sure to try this at home. Beautiful lunch dish to serve for your friends. So if you wanted to, you could put a piece of fish on it even. Anything's possible. But beautiful ricotta cheese, simple salad to go with it. You can stay tuned for other recipes I have coming up, because I'll have ricotta used on different dishes that I have. So stay with me. I'm Chef Dean Max. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I'll see you back soon in the kitchen.